I know this thing that a lot of new people are going to watch this video because of the significance of this subject of this video, which is about emotions, which is about relationship. So it would be unfair if I'll just start right away from the topics which we have to discuss today. So I'm just going to give a quick recap about the lines and about the last introductory video which we have studied. So how these lines on the palm get formed? For that there can be three reasons. First is the soul, like the way it has been believed in spirituality that the soul never dies. It carries account of the past life deeds which gets formed in the form of these palm lines and tells a lot about our personality, about the forthcoming events. Second is the genetics, the heredity, the kind of traits a child inherits from his parents. And third remains to be the kind of environment which a mother gets at the time of the conception. How any line marked on the palm gets judged? Any line marked on the palm gets judged on the basis of the four principles: from where the line is originating, where the line is terminating, presence of any forks or branches on the line, and the presence of any special signs and symbols on the line which you are studying. So this is about the introduction about the lines. And there are three major lines marked on the palm which tells about an individual's physical constitution: the lifeline, which tells about your health, stamina; the headline, which tells about your thinking process; and the heartline, which we are studying. So what we have studied in the last video, what does heartline represent? Heartline, the scope, the definition of the heartline can be summarized in three verticals. First is the physical. The heartline tells about the condition of the physical organ heart. Second is about the psychological aspect. It tells about how we relate to others on an emotional level. Our our attitude towards relationship, our expectation from the relationship, even the shock matters. Like even at the time when we have felt dejected or felt betrayed in the relationship. So how we are going to take that, and whether we would be able to have a easy recovery from those shocks, or whether we are going to have hard time. There are different kinds of people living in the society. There are those who wants to marry young, there are those who wants to marry old, there are those who doesn't want to marry at all. So a lot of things can be determined by checking the condition of the heartline. And the last aspect is the spiritual aspect, the capacity of an individual to sacrifice himself for the higher goal. Joy, compassion, sacrifice, and all those humanitarian and philanthropic aspect of an individual's personality can also be checked and mapped from the condition of the heartline. And we have also discussed few topics in the last video about the origin of the heartline, because when it comes to this line there has been a lot of confusion. This line originates over here from close to the mount of the Jupiter and the mount of the Saturn. Over from here, this region, this line originates. And I have also given a very valid rational explanation in the last video about what made me say that this line originates from here, in a contradiction to the view of the majority of the palmists who take the origin of this line over here, from here. And we have also discussed the difference between the heart line and the mount of the Venus. I want to stand corrected when I said that when we were making a discussion in the last video about the mount of the Venus and the heart line, I emphasized more on the sexuality. See, you need to understand that we are doing an individual analysis. In individual analysis, you need to be fed with what all other components mean. The final conclusion is always drawn at the time of doing analysis. The same is the case with the astrology. The placement of one sign, one planet, doesn't tell the whole picture. You need to look at in which house planet is sitting, in which nakshatra planet is sitting, which all other planets are looking at it, and then we funnel down the whole information and then we land to the prediction. So same is the case with this. And in any case, mount of Venus also represents joy, sympathy, compassion, love. It just like that, when it will be deeply afflicted, at that point of time only, this would just, the emotional and unconditional love takes the form of the sensuality, lust, and all those things. Apart from that, this mount of the Venus also represents the same thing. You should appreciate the formation of the Almighty, the divine. The mount of Jupiter has been allotted less area, same less area has been allotted to all these mounts, but it just this mount of the Venus which has been allotted the maximum region, maximum plot on the palm. Guess God by himself wants the humanity to remain in love and to love unconditionally each other. So this is about the introductory part which we have discussed in the last video. Coming to this video in consideration, where we are just going to discuss the different formation of the heartline and what would remain to be the signification in the emotional aspect of an individual. So the first is when you'll find the heartline to be long. So what does long heartline represent? So when I say long heartline, it means it would be originating somewhere over here from this portion rather than originating from here or from here. So this just represent, long heart line represents someone being for these people, the remaining in committed relationship, or remaining in love, or being in love and becoming loved by others remain to be the priority. You will not find these people to be kind of emotionally dependent on others. These people would remain to be very self-reliant, these people would remain to be very self-confident, but the preference of love would always remain to be in their life. Last is, when it comes to the long heart line, we also need to check whether this long heart line is curved or straight, because what will happen is, the fundamental principle of palmistry is that the straight lines tells about unyielding nature, unbending nature, hovering around close to the obstinacy, someone becoming obstinate and stubborn, and the curve in the line just tells about adaptable, flexible nature. So what would happen is, when you will find this long line to also be straight, so this would just tell about little bit of possessiveness. But let's say when you'll find this same kind of long line to be curved formation, this would just tell about someone who would be flexible, adaptable towards the need and affections of the others. Next is, if you'll find the heart line to be short, so what would happen is, like the way you can see here on the board, the short heart line means that the heart line would be originating somewhere over here, or let's say somewhere over here. So what is happening is that this line is either originating from under the mount of the Saturn, or plane of the Mars, or in exceptional cases even from the mount of the Rahu. So these people would remain to be very practical as compared to their counterpart where the heart line was long. So these people are like more driven by the logics, by the emotions, and by the need of the hour, rather than becoming overwhelmed by the emotions. So next is, which we have already discussed, about the curved heart line. Curved heart line just tells about adaptable, flexible, emotional nature, where the person is concerned about the needs of his partner. Let's say you'll find this line to be overly round. Overly round heart line just going to kind of increase the signification of the curved heart line. So these people would just become, where the line is overly round, become too sentimental, too emotional, even in their their decision making has a tinge of emotions and biased by the emotions, and there would also remain to be a fear of little bit of impulsiveness in the matters of the heart. So overly round line, heart line just tells about sentiments in excess. Next is, we have already discussed, the straight heart line just tells about unyielding, kind of uncompromising kind of nature in the matters of the heart. Next is, when you'll find the heart line to be wavy, so something like this. So wavy heart line just tells about someone being unpredictable, inconsistent in the matters of the heart. At one point of time, the same person is kind of making long commitments and showering too much of the affection and care for you, and the very next moment, or the very next day or next week, that person has ignored you on your face. So that might remain to be the case with the wavy heart line. This just tells about inconsistent and unpredictable nature. Next is, when you'll find the heart line to be narrow or wide. So you need to understand that when we discuss the straight and the curved heart line, straight line tells about unyielding nature, unbending, uncompromising. Curved line just tells about flexibility in the matters of the heart. Same ways, when it comes to the width of the heart line, it just tells about the emotional refinement. So let's say someone who would be having a narrow heart line, the the broadness, the width of the heart line would remain to be narrow. So these people would remain to be very sensitive, so even in those situations where these people have got offended, or they want to express themselves out, they might feel they might think twice or thrice before speaking out, of this fear that how it is going to affect their partner. So the narrow heart line just tells about someone being too sensitive, someone being too introvert, and too inward in the matters of the heart. And the opposite, the case would remain to be completely opposite when you will find the heart line to be wide. So this would just tell about these people are too extrovert and too spontaneous, and this kind of outflow of the emotion is to such an extent that they would not even kind of think twice before offending others in terms of expressing their emotions out. So this is with the wide formation of the heart line. Next is about the deep and shallow. So what do I mean by that? So once again, as we have studied, the straight line tells about unyielding, uncompromising nature. Curved line tells about, compromising and, flexible, adaptable nature. We have also discussed the narrow and wide. That tells about the emotional refinement. Same ways when you'll find the heart line to be deep or shallow. So the depth of the line just tells about the degree of conviction in the matters of the heart. So when you'll find the heart line to be deep, this would just tell about someone who would be like, for that person, the commitment would matters a lot. So if that person has committed something to his spouse or his partner, let's say that he has committed that on his 25th anniversary, this person is going to buy diamond jewelry or some kind of expensive car or anything, he will just put his heart and soul in order to get thing done. So for these people who have got deep kind of heart line, the level of conviction, the level of commitment matters a lot to these people. And the opposite is when you'll find the heart line to be shallow. Like when I say shallow, it would be like very easy to diagnose in the hand. So that would be like there would be no depth in it, and this would be like that you will just find it that it's so it just have been placed on the palm that you can even draw it off. So that is the case when you'll find the heart line to be shallow. This would just tell about all those people who are more concerned about taking the advantage of the situation. They are like more of those kind who just want to derive the emotional and physical satisfaction out of the relationship rather than getting deeply committed into the relationship. This is with the shallow formation of the heart line. Next is when you'll find the heart line to be even. So this is very clear. When you'll find the heart line to be even, this will just tell about that the matters of the heart, the affection, the emotions would remain consistent throughout the time. When it comes to the major lines, we first need to check the overall condition of the heart, and then we need to check it in small intervals. So let's say if someone has come to you at certain age, a 25-year-old person has come to you. So the first thing which you need to look at it in the terms of the matters of the heart, if he wants to know about his relationship prospects. So the first thing is you need to check the overall state of the heart line. Next is you need to divide it in smaller intervals, and at the time when the age which that individual is running, you need to check the condition of the heart line at that particular point of the time. So when you'll find the heart line to be even throughout on its passage or throughout on its route, so this would just tell about the someone being consistent in the matters of his heart. The level of commitment would remain to be constant throughout in this person's life. Next is when you find the heart line to be of mixed kind of formation. So what I mean by mixed, so this just simply means somewhere you will just find it to be curved, somewhere you will find it to be wavy, somewhere you will find it to be narrow, then you will find it getting wide, then you'll find it getting curved. So this kind of formation just tells about inconsistency in someone's emotions, in someone's affections. So first thing is that overall constitution of the individual would remain to be like this. Then next state is that you need to age the line and need to check at that particular age, a point of time, that what is going through in this person's life. If you will find the the heart line to be changed at that point of time, then you can just predict and get to know that this person is going through some kind of emotional blockage at that age, at that particular point of the time. And let's say if you have found the line to be deep and clear marked at that particular age when that person has come to you, then you can just derive this output that yes, this person has come out of all the negativity and all the kind of emotional blockage which he was feeling in the past. So this is with the mixed kind of formation. And last in the this series is when you'll find the heart line to be of chained kind of formation. So like the way I always say, chain is the worst kind of formation for any line to have. This is something of that constitution which is being made by one island after another. So these lines which has been correlated with the electric wires, so the current is not getting able to flow in a smooth manner. This is getting blocked one after another because of the formation of the islands, or one island after another in this chain kind of formation. So this would just tell about someone being too blocked in the matters of the heart. Either this person is not able to express himself completely, or this person is like this only, that he just want to kind of not get into any kind of the emotional attachment or any kind of the emotional involvement, and with other affliction in the hand, this person might even become selfish or might even become self-centered as well. And like the way I have already explained this thing, that the heart line also tells about the original physical organ heart. And this portion from the middle of your ring finger towards the end of this under the little finger, this portion tells about the specifically about the capacity of the heart during the old age. So what would happen is, if you'll find these kind of island formation over here, this also tells about kind of emotional vulnerability in the old age. So let's say over here, at this point of time, at the end of the heart line, if you are found to be smaller kind of islands, this would just tell about low blood pressure. And same ways, if you have found the bigger kind of islands, this would just indicate vulnerability towards, you know, high blood pressure. You know, in any case, the kind of I've seen this kind of formation in the hands of majority of the people of that age. So only what happens is, because, you know, we all need to go through the natural life cycle of the biological life cycle, where in that age, during the old age, person's heart becomes very much vulnerable towards wear and tear. Even his sentiments and emotions become too fragile. But if you have found this kind of formation chain, this is the worst kind of formation to have in someone's heartline formation. So this is all on the concept of the heartline formation. I hope you guys found this video informational. For further more updates and notification on palmistry, please subscribe my channel and like my Facebook page. Thanks.